Coming up on today's show, we're going to preview this game between the New York Knicks and Philadelphia 76ers on Tuesday night from the MECCA, Madison Square Garden. And not only is this a rivalry and a competition on the hardwood, but also it's a little bit of a competition here at the Chat Sports offices because we launch Knicks Now and 76ers Now on the same exact day. Shout out to New York for showing out, getting more subscribers than Philadelphia 76ers now. Knicks fans, if you want to continue to show out, hit that red subscribe button for the best Knicks news and rumors coverage. Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. We have a really good Eastern Conference matchup on Tuesday night between the New York Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers. Over the last several years, this really hasn't been much of a rivalry because it's been one-sided. The Sixers have won 15 straight games against the New York Knicks, but I have a feeling this is going to be a close one, and I think this rivalry is back. We'll go over the main storylines for this game, starting lineups, key reserves, as well as the injury report. But I can't wait to see what the Sixers bring to the table because I think they're a pretty good team even without Ben Simmons against a New York Knicks team that is also very, very talented. They're very, very deep, coming off a season last year in which they claimed that number 4 spot in the Eastern Conference. So that momentum been able to carry over into the early portion of the season, going to be a matchup between two 2-1 teams in the East, obviously in the Atlantic Division, but who cares about divisions in the NBA because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. As I mentioned, you can catch this game on TNT. Tip-off is set for 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific from Madison Square Garden. Philly going into this matchup is 1.5-point favorites. The over-under for this game set at 216. The New York Knicks coming off a home-and-home with the Orlando Magic in which they won the front end of that in Orlando. Then on the back end, they actually lost that game at home in MSG to Orlando, a team with the Magic that's currently rebuilding. The Sixers, on the other hand, really bad loss against the Brooklyn Nets in which they went scoreless the last 5+ minutes of that game at the end of last week, and then they were able to redeem themselves with a nice little win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. The betting matchup for this one, over-under set at 216. Sixers 1.5-point favorites. If you want to bet on this game, you can do so thanks to our sportsbook partner, BetUS. You go to chatsports.com/bet and enter the promo code CHAT125. You get a 125% deposit bonus. So what that means is you put $100 into your account, nice little stack piece. You get an additional $125 back. This is the best deal that really any sportsbook has to offer. And here's the cool thing about it. No matter where you are across America and every pocket of the United States, this deal applies as long as you use that link and that promo code that's right now on your screen. Some of my key storylines at the MECCA. The atmosphere is going to be litty from MSG. If you haven't been to Madison Square Garden in the heart of New York City, it's a fantastic place to watch a game. And I'm thinking because the Sixers are already a good team, the Knicks have been revived the last year plus. I expect them to be very good this year, maybe a 50+ win team for both of these squads. This rivalry might be back. But it's been one-sided for a long time because the Sixers have won 15 straight. For the New York Knicks, who's going to guard Joel Embiid? That's my biggest storyline and question for New York going into this matchup. And at the end of the season, who is going to be the better squad between New York and Philadelphia? Quick little trip up or down I-95, depending on if you're going to New York or going to Philadelphia. I think the Knicks could be the better team because there's so much uncertainty right now with the Philadelphia 76ers because Ben Simmons taking a mental leave of absence away from the team. He got suspended for that season opener last week, not playing with the Sixers for an unforeseen amount of time moving forward. And I still think that Philly is talented enough to kind of survive for a while without Ben Simmons, but once they get to the playoffs, they're definitely going to need another premier player. So who you got? Let me know in the comments section. Type NYK for the Knicks, type PHI for the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers 1.5-point favorites, but betting on the NBA very, very hard. This game could go either way. Projected Knicks starters for Tuesday night's matchup. They've been an impressive starting 5, in my opinion, getting off to that early 2-1 start. Kemba Walker, can he be revived going back to his hometown of New York? Evan Fournier, the Frenchman who played really well in the Olympics over the summer, is your 2 guard for New York. RJ Barrett, can he continue his ascension? After a sophomore season in which he was brilliant, Julius Randle, most improved player last year, and then Mitchell Robinson has flashed at times throughout his career. Can he put together a full season as really a prime defensive big man who can be a high flyer? You can operate with him in the two-man game as he throws down some dunks off the alley-oop. Key Knicks role players. I did say that this Knicks team is very deep. There's no doubt about that, and that's why I like them in the East to surprise a lot of people and potentially be a top 5 seed in what is a very loaded conference. Derrick Rose was excellent last year, revived his career as well. Alec Burks can really put the biscuit in the basket. Sixers fans know that well because he played with them during the bubble season 2 years ago. Emmanuel Quickley, good rookie, also went to Kentucky alongside Tyrese Maxey and Obi Toppin, the key Knicks role players. As for the projected Sixers starters on Tuesday night, Tyrese Maxey's been starting in place of Ben Simmons, and he's been up and down as a second-year player. You kind of knew that was going to happen. He's had some really good games throughout the first 3, and an okay game against OKC. The shooting has been somewhat spotty. You know whose shooting has not been spotty? That's the shooting of Seth Curry, who dropped 25 points in the first quarter alone against OKC in that win on Sunday night. Danny Green gives you a veteran presence who can play a lot of defense. Tobias Harris, nice little wing. Could he make it to his first All-Star game of his career this year? I think that's a possibility. And then Joel Embiid, second in the MVP race last year, putting together another really good season. Key Sixers role players now. I've been impressed by the Sixers' depth. I mean, George Niang has been hitting threes, dropping tray balls like crazy. Really like him coming in off the bench as a guy in the front court who can stretch the floor. Furkan Korkmaz, he's been great. You're paying this guy $5 million a year, and in the modern-day NBA, when you value three-point shooting so much, you have him on that salary. That's excellent value. Isaiah Joe, breakout candidate for me coming out of Arkansas, second-year guy, still waiting for him to be a little bit more consistent with his stroke. Matisse Thybulle, one of the better perimeter defenders all across the NBA. And Andre Drummond, I think, could be a sneaky good signing, basically taking the place of Dwight Howard. Dwight goes back out to Los Angeles, an absolute crime. He was not named as one of the top 75 NBA players. I think it was a joke, but Andre Drummond, I think the better backup option at the center spot for Joel Embiid, because it's pretty inevitable that Embiid at some point this year is going to miss some games. He's already dealing with some knee issues. Speaking of those knee issues, because of them, Joel Embiid is going to be questionable tomorrow night. Nerlens Noel probably going to be out. He's also dealing with a knee problem that goes back to NBA training camp as well as the preseason. And Andre Drummond, who has really flashed at times, as I said, going to be questionable as well with an ankle sprain. Not expected to be a long-term injury. Doc Rivers not overly concerned by that, but he is questionable against New York, and Philadelphia could use his size in the front court because the Knicks do have several players who match up well with the Sixers in that front court spot. Lastly, before I dip on out of here, Knicks, Sixers, is the rivalry back? I hope so, because when the Knicks and Sixers are good, and it's been a little while since both teams have been contenders in the East, it's really good for the landscape of the NBA. New York, Philadelphia, 2 top 4 markets, and 2 fan bases that are absolutely awesome. And they are certainly rabid fan bases at that. As I mentioned, get your bets in for this matchup on TNT. Chatsports.com/bet. Enter the promo code CHAT125. Do you like the Sixers as 1.5-point favorites? Do you like the over or the under to hit at 216? Let me know in the comment section and enjoy this ball game.